it.
But then I went to visit
5.5
my daughter in
cents.
Germany, when she was there. I ran over the border. I see
20
100
kilometers.
kilometers before I expected. I'm running out of electricity. So he was like, okay, let me stop at a nearby gas station. There is only one plug and that's taken. How long is it going to be taken? For another 2 hours. Okay, I drive another half an hour and then I'm really done. You know what it says? I stopped there. Still not spot. I just called dealership and told them, your car is there. I'm done. Because it was still in this trial period.
Maybe
So
I should
that was one attempt.
move the car somewhere else and run a cable out of a bedroom or something.
It's fine.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
I think
not
it's
hard.
fine for now. If we
Yeah.
continue with the workshop,
Yes,
then we
if
will all
we
be
could
able to
continue,
use you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
do story time later.
Okay, so
Okay,
we've
so-
decided. It's
No,
post
workshops.
conference.
Just a second. For workshops, you cannot do it post conference. I did in Chengdu workshop, so they have really tight timeline, and that's also a little bit later than regular papers. It's not really much later. It's not really that you can do it after the
Yeah,
conference.
but
also.
I guess if you do separate proceedings, it could
It's a
be
separate
negotiated.
proceeding, right?
I understand you
Yeah.
can't do it because there is one volume of workshop
But the
proceedings.
work.
Yes.
But no, there's not. Every workshop has
It's
individual
separate
proceedings.
one.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
So
individual.
that gives us the opportunity for a hackathon cannot be written. The paper cannot be written till after the hackathon.
Yeah.
Explain
Yeah.
it to the name I don't want to
April.
mention. You know the.
Yes, no.
The
this
lady
is-
that
this
sends
is not-
emails,
Yeah, but this is fine.
The
This is
Lisa
a
Torres.
very.
I just didn't want to say the name.
Klaus, you've agreed to do that.
This is a. Look, but this is
You
a
are
very
gonna be
solvable
communicating
problem.
with
This
her,
is
bro.
essentially just get order another set of proceedings with ACM Publishing.
Yeah, that's fine.
If-
That's fine.
If SIGMM says, no, look, there's another event that has proceedings a month later, then there's going to be another event that has proceedings a month later.
Yeah.
And ACM Publishing, whatever, will charge SIGMM something for that. But SIGMM wanted the hackathon, so
Yes, right.
But let's check it if it's possible.
It's
we'll
possible.
just tell them that this is
Did
what,
you ever do it?
what needs to happen,
No.
and then it will happen somehow.
I've also never did it because I know we were breaking spine
Yeah.
once with Miriam Reddy. I remember in Brisbane, really to get a paper some time, and it was pretty much like regular proceedings. And also last time I did it for Chengdu, it was also, you know.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they're usually
probably-
only very specific about their dates because they say, okay, no, the thing needs to be published at that point in
Yes.
time. Therefore, you need to
We
send
will,
it in time.
we
Then
will
we say,
probably
look,
end up
this is
giving them
published
the
whenever.
dates, and we'll give them a third set of dates for the hackathon publication.
Oh,
And that's
if you
it,
think
right.
it's possible.
Yeah,
I
with
believe it's
with a
possible.
targeted publication date of end of the year or something,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then
It's just impossible to do it any other way. So unless we run the hackathon 2 months early, and that doesn't make
that's
sense.
not
No,
happening.
yes, doesn't make sense.
Now, we're gonna have my understanding is we'll have a call for hackathon topics
Yes.
that are at least somewhat health related. Some of them.
Well, yeah, what we said before was to say it should be data exploration and or data augmentation based on this data set. And then if you want to slant it towards the health thing, in addition to that, fair enough. And this was just going to be the criteria by which this is going to be judged.
Because that's what came out of that workshop.
Yeah, but we can put that into the call as well,
Yeah.
an example, and say.
Yeah.
well,
What happens if nobody comes up with a health-based idea? Then we've just done the hackathon as per CMM's request. From the very senior people in the field said, let's do a health-based hackathon.
No, it
oh, look, we're doing one on
No,
tracking
it
and
has to
expressions
be-
on faces.
No,
It
yes.
has to be. We
No.
just say.
You cannot
Look,
control what
if,
people
if,
want to
if
work.
people are interested in doing other things with a data set, let people also do other things with a data
So
set.
then should we not
Because-
have ourselves
I mean, that-
a health
Yes,
so
but
then you-
the thing is, how many people have been at this seniors? I've not been invited. I wouldn't know, right?
about 20.
Yeah. So one of these 20 people are then supposed to propose a project.
Yeah, exactly. So now
And I
basically-
understand that they're all busy, but one of them.
Well, basically, now they should send back mail to them and say, now we have made
Mhm.
this. Now it's your turn to actually assemble a group to work on something, right?
Okay.
So it's their responsibility. That's something.
And I mean, even most of these people are very senior. They probably have research groups with
Right.
lots of people, so that they can just go to the group and say, you five, you go to the hackathon and,
Yes.
and work on this.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly.
So the catch is, I like that one, and I think it would be, so how the city of Amsterdam did it, and I think those were really nice hackathons. There is not a fake, but a clear need. We have these panoramas, and we use them to monitor problems in a public space, crowdiness, this and that, state of the assets, and all. But it kind of helps if there are more users, if more departments commit to making something useful out of it. So basically, there is some coordination going on. Chief Technology Office approached them, and people are really interested. Genuinely, I have this process, and if I can cut 2 million per year, it's amazing, So they come there and they think, look, it doesn't have to. It can be vague. I said it already. Like advertisement, public advertisement is just Wild West, So can we get it from panoramas? If that panorama is recorded a few times per month, we can. So do something with that. You don't have to be.
Yeah, but I guess there's a difference in terms of the motivation if you work with your own data from your own organization, or you do something on another data set. So I think here it's probably we're more targeting the research community with this call than a company saying, oh yeah, this is a kind of a proxy of the problem we are interested in. Because then why wouldn't they provide their own data and do a challenge on that?
So what I wanted to say is then they did have clear interest, it seemed, at AC Multimedia, kind of to come up with a few very signature use cases, test beds, and so on. And this is one of them, basically. So we could ask, because they had clear ideas about his agents, for example.
Yeah,
about
they
should
healthcare.
then-
yeah,
Yes,
they should
that's what I said.
propose-
Yeah.
yes.
They have vested interest because that was the part of that.
Yeah, but there's also research. I think you can't compare it with your example of the end users bringing in interest or someone in the research community be interested. But anyway, they can bring the topic.
Yes, so now we did the work, we will facilitate this, and then we play the ball back to them and say, look, if you want concrete topics around this area, then you go and make it happen. We said, we gave you the data, we gave you the framework, we gave you the location, we even ordered the catering, right? And you just show up and make it happen. Or send your people if you
Yeah.
don't show up yourself, right?
I was more thinking like, how often are those steering type of meetings?
I'm guessing annually, because this is the first time this particular meeting.
No, but last year, oh yeah, that was not happening before.
It's not a steering committee meeting.
Uh-huh. So I was just like thinking, okay, maybe, yeah, let's see. But I think people may be interested in a kind of chipping in with some ideas.
Okay,
So
so
let's see how many
Yeah,
topics
just call.
we
Yeah.
get.
what
proposals.
happens?
I mean, what you
So
can
it's
what you can
reporting.
still do if you see that there is few submissions or there is no topics covered, directly approach some people
Exactly.
and say that you want to propose a topic for
Yes,
this.
I would go to Stefan, maybe you can propose garbage detection or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there is lots of
We
garbage.
worked very hard to make data for you.
I'll plug it in somewhere else.
Well,
Garbage detection,
Switch?
you look
Yes,
at.
yeah.
I'm
That's
okay.
yeah.
If you're cold?
I'm not
That's what
cold,
I'm
but if you want to switch, I can.
looking at.
No, I was just it's because you were looking like you were cold.
No, I'm not
If
cold.
somebody gives me their bedroom,
What?
You will drive your car into it.
Mine is the ground
Charging was
floor.
also faster
If
before.
somebody gives me the bedroom, I'm gonna go and sleep there.
I just want to hang the wire out the window.
You can put it in my bedroom, no problem. It's
Hey,
one
I
bed.
already hate
Yeah, you
this
can also use
sustainability.
mine. Mine is just in front of
Okay,
the
fine.
camera.
I'll move the car, then everybody's going to be warm, right?
No, not now.
Workshop first.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are not-
gonna finish this,
no 3
otherwise
minute
this is
breaks.
not gonna.
You know what's
You're
bizarre?
staying here.
You know what's bizarre? We are now helping the planet by charging this with electricity, but we are also cooling the home, so the heating is working harder. So I think we already kind of.
Oh, don't worry, the building isn't that well insulated anyway.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so let me summarize this to say we have decided as some kind of a process through which a hackathon takes place. One of those hackathons will be suggested to senior SIGMM people to be a healthcare one that they figure out based on this data set. Here's details of the data set.
Yeah.
Other people can propose hackathons as well.
No,
Well,
No.
topics.
Topics for the hackathon.
So the hackathon is based on this.
Hackathon is one
Yes.
thing.
Okay.
Right.
There is
It's-
there
it's
is
one
there
thing.
is one hackathon.
Yes.
It is going to be so. This particular hackathon is going to use this particular data set.
What happens if there's a second hackathon?
There's no
There's
What
no
happens,
hackathon.
if, what happens if Huawei Dublin commits it? We want to do a hackathon on social media something. Do we go, yes, fine, of course, welcome. Let's do it. Will it be seen that we
It depends on how much money they give you.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it has never happened before, so we do
Yes.
not need to plan for this
Yeah.
eventually.
But
But
I
if it
think
didn't
basically
happen-
if you give you enough money, you do.
So this
better,
is
right?
interesting. I think we could have two models that are also justifiable. So our community, our own community, SIGMM decided to have one hackathon that's based on a real heterogeneous multimedia data and health-based topics. If anybody else would like hackathon, well, you have to fund it somehow through either
Well,
awards and apply so that we can check whether it
I
fits.
don't see it happening for this year. I guess this may be something for the year after when people see the hackathon
Probably.
happening and say
Right.
next year we'd like
Yeah.
to do something else.
So
I
I-
wouldn't care about this topic
Yes,
this
so
year.
given that this never happened before, I don't expect that people will just running in outdoors and say, oh, I want to host another hackathon at your venue. Because the great success of the hackathon that hasn't happened yet inspired me to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think this is something we need to worry about, and on the off chance that somebody actually comes, then we will figure out what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But there's a single hackathon.
There's a there's the
Many topics, one
CNM
hackathon.
sponsored hackathon around the data set that is
Yeah.
being created this very moment.
What?
But yes, you're actually on camera, in case you haven't noticed.
But Luca, I have just one request. Because you mentioned also it could be some gaming related topic.
Well,
then we
it's
should
more of a
also know that.
motivation-y kind of thing.
Sorry?
This was more of a motivation-y kind
Motivation,
of thing.
yeah, but
As
that's what I
in
told to
make
Matthias
it
also.
playful.
Yeah, but why not? I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
could-
It's more.
I mean, you could.
I was thinking more of gamification than of actual video games. But if somebody wants to make a video game out of this
Like
somehow,
like
You
a
could
game
you could
changer.
have animated characters from all of us. You have
yeah,
enough there.
sure. If they want to.
Sounds awesome.
Uh-huh.
The enthusiasm.
No,
Okay,
I mean,
no problem. We
It's
can-
it's got.
we can discuss
I
it
would
later.
try and set as few constraints as,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
possible, and then just
A
let
workshop.
people run with it.
Yeah.
And just essentially set the bounds that this is actually realistic.
Yeah.
But that we think that this has a reasonable chance of succeeding within the parameters we can enable.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that it does not need to be in relation to our data set, right?
No, it should be.
It should
should
be.
be.
It should be in
Yeah.
relation to the data set
okay, okay,
somehow.
You can make, I guess you can make any gamification approach out of it, like, for example, trying to, I mean, and this could even be health related, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you find, or you try to mine patterns of incentives for, I don't know, for moving, for drinking less alcohol,
Or-
for whatever, and
or
you
I-
try to make a game out of that.
Yeah.
I guess it should at least be applicable to the data set and demonstrated based on the data set.
Okay.
So
Yes.
even if you have a thing and say I'm gonna do gamified data augmentation that is theoretically
Yeah.
applicable to
That's
any
one of-
video stream,
A good
then
example.
that is great.
Yeah.
Then it's also applicable to
Yeah.
this video stream, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
demonstrate that it is at least among other things
Okay.
applicable to this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write an email summarizing all of that. I'll run it by everybody.
I wrote some notes. I
Okay,
think
I'll
that's
run it by
one
a
of the
few people then,
exercises.
and I will send it to Alan, Alberto, and Ramesh, who were organising that meeting. So here's what we came up with.
Yes. And basically, I mean, there was the talk of data augmentation, data visualization or representation, but
Yeah.
you could have a kind of orthogonal, say, health would be one of the
Health
things.
is one. The health is going to be figured out anyway.
Yeah,
We'll have to
yeah.
on health, but there's other ones we can.
So just a
Right.
second, now we diverged. First you said that all solutions, all the work has to be health related.
No,
No,
No, there must be a health related.
Yeah.
no, it's an option to make health related.
So health is one of the topics of interest.
Yes.
It is
We
the
want
thing
to
we're going to suggest.
encourage having one.
We're going to encourage
Include-
that
Yes.
this is going to have a health angle. If people really say, no, but I really want to do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering, whatever, then let them do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering.
Okay, so we
or
get
whatever
back
it's
and we
called.
have a data set and a facilitation
Right.
process to support.
Yes.
And we can incentivize by saying that one of the awards is gonna go to healthcare related topic. And the rest,
No, I think
No.
no.
if we go with,
Give
if
this
we
one
go
more.
with,
Because what you
Yeah.
do if you just have one healthcare related
Yeah.
topic, then.
it's like a
Give them a
hackathon.
award.
If you have a really bad one.
Yeah, no.
Give them award, that's right.
No.
No, I mean,
Look, it could be as simple as recipe book
Isn't
generation.
this millennial thing? Everybody
That's
gets a
enough for
medal.
healthcare.
Yeah, we-
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not do that. Taking part is its own reward.
Yes.
You're not millennial, man, it doesn't concern you.
first of all,
Yeah.
of course,
Okay,
of
so
course
we're-
I am.
Can you give me tea?
Okay, we have the hackathon. I think that's okay. That's a moving it along.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda was the thinking beyond, or trying to apply the learnings and all the discussions back to the things we already have, right? So we've been doing LSC, we've been doing VBS for several years now. We have grown the data sets that are used for these benchmarks, and with the new data sets we also have new variations on type of tasks that we can do. Given such a data set as this, and possibly even whatever might come after this, what directions do we foresee in, or what are consequences for these challenges that we foresee, that new opportunities that would open up, and what would we need to do to make that happen?
I mean, clearly one opportunity I see is, I think we all find question answering tasks very interesting. And having especially these complex and aggregating question answering tasks. And for example, on V3C, this is not really possible because of the diversity of things. You can't ask a question across the entire data set unless you have really watched everything. While here you have a closed world and you have certain constraints to know that something has happened or has not happened, and if it has happened, these are the places to check. So you could more easily have these kind of question answering queries that need to draw information from various types of the content.
I mean, yes, I specifically for V3C, I could also foresee something that is a variation on a question answering task that essentially says something between question answering and ABS, that you have a find me instances that answer a particular kind of question, as in show me show me examples of, I don't know, complete sequences of preparing food, right?
Sure,
so this
yeah,
would not
yeah.
be a single clip, but a find me all the instances
sure.
across various things.
No, but I think especially these kind of aggregation, like the how many times did I fly in this year, which airline did I take? So all these things need like a closed set of data. And I think this is enabled by a data set like this one. And I think these are tasks that are fairly close to practical challenges.
Yeah, but I mean you could also do some data exploration and analytics and say find me all
Of course,
the people hiking, and then it's not just shots of people hiking, but find me all the actual people. So then you need to cross-reference this, do person identification, things like that, right?
Yeah.
There's another implicit question here, which is, here, up until now, LSC has used a particular type of data and so has VBS. Now we're after going to do something that's somewhere between both of them, and we're putting it into ACM Multimedia. Does ACM Multimedia stay the home of this new thing? Or does this new thing also go into LSC and VBS, in which case they're all going to be kind of the same?
Yeah.
What do we want to do as a strategy? Is it that the ACM Multimedia Challenge is the Video Lifelong Challenge, the LSE is the Stop Motion Lifelong Challenge, and VBS is the Large Scale Video Retrieval Challenge? What happens if we kind of blend these things together?
Yeah.
What falls? Does LSE or VBS drop aside because now the big one is the one ACM Multimedia? Are we happy with that? I don't think we want that necessarily.
I mean, the just logistically, like, I think what apart from the effort, I mean, yeah, you can't ask every team to be in everything. As you mentioned, there's already a lot of things going on, and I think I have trouble imagining this event like we have it at MMM at ICMR, where it's a single track thing where the whole conference comes together for this session. I don't see how you scale that to a huge conference like ACM Multimedia.
Yes. And also actually yesterday we discussed that we should not do a real on-site challenge there. So a real on-site
Yeah, it
competition.
could still happen in future, right?
Yeah, but I would,
But yeah,
So is that enough of a separation then?
so
This is mostly asynchronous then.
yeah. I mean, it could be like
Yeah.
a track with like or
Exactly.
more track with like
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
right.
TrackFit / NTC.
I mean, we can still do the interactive thing in the, it's gonna happen in a workshop slot and then see what happens, right? So this
Yeah,
is, I mean,
yeah.
also VBS and LSE had some years to become
True,
established.
yeah.
I mean, especially VBS is now an integral part of MMM.
Yeah.
Yes.
LSE is technically still a satellite event,
Try to get
technically
this
still
integrated more, like,
a
push
workshop that technically needs to be approved every year, and some year a workshop chair could say, no, we're not gonna do this, we already did this a bunch of times.
It's possible.
They would probably be getting angry emails from people, but
Steering committee, yes. And people on the steering committee, yes.
But,
Demo chairs and half people at this table who are on the steering committee, yes. But yeah, ACM, my understanding was ACM were not going to be happy if we had guaranteed accepted papers in an ACM proceedings. I know in theory for MMM and ABS, we don't, but we kind of do. We have probably never, well, maybe we have.
We have
We-
rejected.
we
I
have,
guess
but
there
basically
have
the-
been very few rejections, but
Yeah.
mostly because people misunderstood the assignment
Yeah.
or something
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the rule is basically any reasonably understandable description of a system that can, with some shepherding, be turned into a readable paper.
So maybe
it is accepted,
It's
right?
time to go back to open up that question again for LSE and go, we want this to be an integral part of this conference. That goes back to the
So
steering
you mean
committee
to
first.
move LSE to ACM Multimedia?
No, I mean for ICMR, move it into
okay, yeah.
like the
Part of the
VBS
proceedings.
levels.
Yeah.
It actually makes a difference, right?
Move it into the main proceeding and just say this is a track.
Yes.
That would be very good, I think.
But that's what I got pushed back on a few years ago, so I can try it again.
Yeah.
And then maybe also integrate the video data set there for the LSE.
Yeah.
Because it fits perfectly to it, right? To the VPS it would also fit because it's video
It's a
type.
track.
But
That's the interactive side, then
yeah.
really that we focus on the asynchronous stuff like
Yeah.
this, and the demos just the synchronous
I mean,
stuff.
it could even, the dataset could possibly even be used in both things, but
Yes.
for different purposes.
different
Yeah.
tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the type of tasks in VBS and LSE are technically, as in how they are implemented, very similar. Semantically, they're
Yeah.
still quite
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
And I mean, to be honest, like if you take, we have a decent share of wedding videos in
Yes.
in the data set. I mean, like a group of people being at a wedding is not so different of us being someplace here,
but,
right?
but we've never done anything with it explicitly, right? So we,
Yeah.
we don't have the wedding subtask.
Yeah.
But
I know this is something we could possibly do for whatever comes after V3C. If there are some directions to say, well, if we will inevitably run out of V3C, probably within 2 years or so. So then we might anyway need to design something else that has new properties for interesting challenges that we foresee for the future.
Do you see VBS being able to have a track for this data set, where somebody can take part but not take part in the VLC data set, right?
That definitely can fit to VPS because you have so many different
Yeah,
types
but,
already.
I mean, how would you split the track?
Yeah, I
Can
don't
you
know,
do
I'm
a
just thinking.
separate session then?
That's anyway something that is
I don't know, yeah.
increasingly a problem with VBS. We have seen this year, that we had so many different things going on, so
Yeah.
many different combinations of data sets and task
Yeah.
types, that for every single combination there were only very few instances. So the amount of data that we actually have, the amount of results, keeps getting smaller and smaller, and it keeps getting increasingly difficult to draw any conclusions from this.
Right.
So either we cut down on this, or we lean into it. Cutting down would mean we keep the time frame of saying, look, this is a half day actual challenge, so full day event, but there's still some time to everybody getting settled. And then we only have the 6 hours or so to actually do evaluations, and there's only so many tasks, so we need to scope this down. Or we say, no, there's going to be tracks. People can sign up for tracks, and then this might be a 2-day thing that runs even possibly in parallel to some of the more of the main conference, because it just needs more time. And then we say explicitly, okay, this type of thing is on first day in the morning, this type of thing is on first day in the afternoon, and then people can decide, do they want to do all of it, do they want to do some of it, but then it becomes more.
And to be honest, even having longer expert sessions in the past years has always been logistic trouble.
Yeah.
So with conference starting on Monday, not being able to gather rooms on Sunday, so I find it quite difficult.
I think an alternative version would be to kind of keep the 3C collection as the main collection, and then work with 1 or 2 satellite collections which
I would
would
also agree
rotate,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Because now there's the question of how much more do we learn now from, for example, the medical collection. We know it's extremely hard. Do we need to, or is this now the new site collection that we would go with?
Yeah. So I personally would even prefer using only V3C and VPS in the future, but for question answering tasks, and removing the medical data set maybe again, and removing also the MVK again.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good direction to plan the next generation of challenge data set.
Right.
Because I mean, V3C was primarily designed for TrackVid. So I had quite some discussions with the people behind TrackVid, specifically the ADS track at TrackVid, to see, okay, what is it they would want and need from this. And then it was mostly, oh, we have this new thing, we might as well use it for VBS as well. Given that a new one is coming up within the foreseeable future anyway, we could do some explicit scoping of the requirements and then see what we would need to design for the foreseeable future of properties we already know. And probably by the time we're through with it, it's going to be obsolete anyway, because there's going to be new questions that require new types of data.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And in addition, I think if we have one data set only for VPS, it would definitely simplify everything, or even a barrier to go into the competition for new teams.
It could be just restricting task types. So as
Yeah.
you say, maybe keeping
Only
keeping
QA.
one for QA, and then maybe having visual non-item search still for specific types of data. Right?
Or maybe for LSC. I mean,
So for me, LSE is a lifelong search challenge.
And it should remain that.
Yes, it should remain a lifelong search challenge.
That's
It's
the,
in the
that's the
it's in the name.
We have to keep them separate, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we're doing in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation,
Yes,
is saying there's a
absolutely.
VBS,
And
there's an LSE,
yeah.
And that one
There's a
also has a
lifelong.
lower barrier to entry,
and there's a POV
even
one.
than the video browser.
Yes.
stuff.
For
Yes.
me, LSC is a lifelong service challenge.
Yes.
Yes, but the question is if we want to search the videos there, like these videos.
No, this is not a lifelong.
That blurs the difference between
Yes.
LSE and VBS.
This is-
Oh,
and
no,
this is not a
because-
lifelong.
No, because semantically,
Like, this is the PLV challenge.
No, because I guess, and I don't wanna, going to, go too much into the philosophical discussion of what a lifelog is, but so far, the lifelog, the notion of what a lifelog is has been dictated by what type of data was possible to collect and what type of data was possible to be made available for this sort of thing, given the technology that existed at the time of the recording of this lifelog. Because this is also a type of lifelog.
Yes,
it is just something that you
It's
would.
a merging of the two
But-
somehow.
But his stream would be his lifelog. My stream is my lifelog.
Yes,
I don't think stationary
But-
cameras.
No, stationary
Yeah.
well, I
It
mean,
could be. I mean,
that's
yeah,
actually
but
camera.
yeah.
It's a
It
there
was
could
just-
be such a thing
Sure,
as
sure.
a multi-perspective lifelog if you
Sure.
say, look, for
Yes.
the person one has a lot of stationary cameras in their house and spends a lot of time in their house, and person two spends a lot of time abroad or all over the place and is having a wearable camera, and person three does not have a camera at all, but essentially narrates their audio log and takes a bunch of pictures. All of these things could
Sure.
be different
Lifelog, yes.
forms of life logs.
Yeah, this is
Right.
more
Um,
community lifelog, more
Yes.
group
So
lifelog.
it's still different to what the LSC up until now has done.
Yes,
It's
but
been a single person lifelog.
But,
But
but
that's-
is it because this is precisely the challenge that is the best challenge there could be? Or is it because this is the task that could be reasonably made available and therefore the best feasible task that could actually be implemented? As in, if there was instrumentation to record many more things, would we want that, or do we say no, we want explicitly image sequence thing because for some reason this particular thing is the
For
most
the
interesting?
LSC challenge, we still do have more multimodal data than anybody actually uses, right?
Right.
So it's still there. You can still use the heart rates and all those things if you want to use it. Just
I mean, so far there have been very few questions, very few
Right.
tasks where it would actually be useful. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg
Yes,
thing, right?
yes, 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 yes.
nobody's processing it.
Yeah, so I would recommend for LSC that we only keep the image-based data set because the entry barrier is much lower for new teams.
For as long as that seems sensible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe at ACM Multimedia, we use this
Yeah.
video-based data set for this asynchronous competition, kind of, yeah. It's not on-site live competition.
At least for the next year or two. And VBS still uses VLC.
Yes.
And V3C.
Yeah, V3C. Yeah.
VLC.
VLC is something else.
Yeah,
It's probably also used.
But that still
Whenever
manages
you
to
open
keep,
that video.
Yes.
it manages to keep the separation between the three different things. Right?
Right.
And that's
Hi.
important unless
So
we
have
just,
to-
if we move LSC to use this data set,
Is
then
it-
LSC ultimately becomes that multimedia team at MM.
Is that good?
If you, there's danger for VBS as well, if you
Yeah.
go into this data set that, oh, why are you doing it twice, just do it once.
So let's keep their focus.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we have the focus kept on the data
Yeah.
sets, and in 2 years' time, or 18 months' time at Castle 2, we go back and say, well, how successful is this POV thing been?
Yes, but I mean, independently of that, I still foresee a future where several years down the line, LSC might have a very different type of data set.
Absolutely. And I
Because
think
at
that's-
that
yeah.
point, there might be variable cameras that essentially do this type of data, but they are small enough that you can clip it to a shirt
Yeah.
and wear it all the
The
time.
first ever lifelong challenge we did at NTCIR was from 3 people for a month each. Right? We actually did start off with more people, but just it became more of a headache to keep that going.
Right.
It became 2 people, it became 1 person. Right? So,
So.
You start recording
Turn off your camera.
Yeah. So there will be lunch ready in
hello?
10 minutes.
Oh, good. I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Can I just write up something? Can I try to summarize what I heard?
Yeah.
LSC, VBS, and ACMMM
Yeah.
Grand Challenge / Hackathon should be having
half an hour or so.
Unique signatures, VBS,
Okay.
is VBS, let's put it, so let's say with LSC, which is kind of smallest in scope, LSC should be focused on personal life for data. There should be a task that's visual only to provide, I would say, a low threshold for participation. But nobody prevents people from using also the other data such as geocoordinates and so on and so on.
And I think it would be interesting to have tasks that actually would benefit
Yes,
from
Yeah.
To
at
put
least
pressure on
think
people
a few,
integrating
you know,
more and
like
more
a-
data.
Yeah, on the other hand, I mean, I guess we're deliberately sometimes avoiding tasks that are easy to solve with geolocation or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So,
but I'm saying, you
yeah.
know, elevate height rate or
Yeah, yeah,
elevation
yeah,
or
yeah,
something like
those
this.
things,
so-
yes,
so
but
more,
like
more rare.
not,
But, I mean, especially for ad hoc kind of queries, it might also be very interesting to do more of a when did I exert myself on the weekend
Yeah,
kind of thing. So,
Yes.
which you don't necessarily get from the images.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Things like this. So
Where do I like
essentially,
to party?
so essentially, there's an aim towards more semantic distinction of the different events.
So, LSC,
Smell.
Mm.
Check it out.
Yeah, I checked it. It looks good.
Really?
It looks good.
Okay.
Just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
hey, but with these ovens, I have to tell you, it looks like nothing is happening and then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just
But also from a purely task implementation point of view. I mean, we already talked about this, I don't know, yesterday or 2 days ago. That even the way the tasks are phrased or are conducted have quite some room
The lower one.
for design variations. So the motivation behind instant search, known item search, the way I always understood it was I've seen this thing before somewhere at a point in time where I didn't have the chance to actually note anything down or take a picture or anything, and now I want to find it again. And we're trying to simulate this process where you need to inject this memory somehow.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, we're trying to do some experiments how well this memory injection thing actually represents what we're doing. But we haven't seen a lot of variation on how this is done. So I would actually really propose to say, okay, why don't we have this more conversational style, for example, and say, okay, there's volunteers that are being shown in the clips.
Yeah.
And then we can see, do they have access to the clip, or they're shown the clip beforehand and then they actually have to remember.
Yeah.
And then they're just there and say, okay, I'm going to describe this to you and you can shout questions at me. And then maybe we need to have a not everybody shouting at once kind of mechanism. But this would essentially be a new variant of KISS, which is less predictable, but is inherently more interactive because it is actually back and forth between an intelligent agent, as in a person describing what they remember, and all the people searching for it.
So we should also probably consider that now, and that you have an IR, maybe that's like for them, people are increasingly kind of playing with LLM taking that role. So instead of having these volunteers, you could actually take a very large model, show it the content alongside the ground truth, and actually make it act as some sort of oracle.
Well, you don't need the content alongside the ground. I mean, if you describe the ground truth, I think that there's two things here. One thing is you show it the content, but then you rely on the capabilities of that model doing the visual interpretation, which is a bit dangerous,
Yes.
I think. What I could imagine is you try to write it down and then you purely rely on the text of looking up things in that particular text, for which I think the LLM would be much more reliable.
I'm not saying there is one way to do that,
Yeah.
because
But-
people are
yeah.
playing, hey, what can they
Yeah.
do actually?
Given that this is going to be a one-shot interactive thing anyway, I'm much more inclined to actually have a person there.
Yeah, I mean, why not have a person and have an LLM in parallel, just to benchmark that one?
Yes, well, we can also do that.
That would be interesting papers.
But to have the, I'm gonna ask you something strange because this is how my system happens to work, and the LLM may or may not have ever thought about.
Yeah.
But also this is then a thing of the person, and so well let me think, maybe I remember, or maybe
Exactly.
we have this thing, for example, as well, if I know that my OCR is very good, then I'm going to pay attention to any little piece of text that's on the screen, even though you probably would never have paid
remember,
attention to this if you just had seen it in the wild. Whereas probably if you actually just show it to a person without priming them to, oh yeah, by the way, I have a very good OCR, they're just not going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they do, or maybe they misremember. But then you have the actual.
So you know who would know it? If you provide your paper, like let's say VBS submission to a large model, it could pick up what the components are, probably even better than.
No, but the large model does either know or it doesn't, right? So it's not going to pay attention differently based on the papers you prime it. It either has the visual capabilities of extracting this information or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And probably something OCR-y is way lower in the semantic hierarchy, so it will have a much easier job of saying, was there any text on the screen? It says, yes, there's all the text I remember seeing on the screen. Whereas, was this shot in Southern Europe? And so, well, how would I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, and there's really, I mean, we had a summer intern working on video to text this summer, and exactly this point that you mentioned of named places. This is something where we compare different models, and they differ a lot. Some never fix any location, others always give you a location. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. So these things you really see, like, did they have some geo-reference data in the training, or how much of that did they have? But I mean, I like this idea, and I think I like it also because it highlights the importance of doing that in the interactive session. This is not something you can do asynchronously. Whether you do it with people or with models, the answers will never be the same. So you have to do that in the interactive challenge.
So it would be reasonably easy to implement.
Yeah.
The only thing that we would need to make sure is that there is some sort of audio-video recording of the event, so we actually have a record of this dialogue that happened. Because otherwise, you just put the same thing into Trace and just as a hint, you leave it empty, and you have a person there who is instructed to answer these questions, and the system still will know what the ground truth is and will judge accordingly.
Yeah, I guess the question is also like how to design it. Maybe it could be like a panel of people there who do this answering, just to balance memory capabilities of people. Some people being better at visual things, some people better at conceptual things. So maybe having like a panel of 3 people there, and together they answer, and they also have to agree what they answer.
What is the practical scenario and practical, let's say, research question?
Something like this is much closer to the scenario of you having the memory and needing to investigate a system, or even imagine way back when we had archivists for this sort of thing, that would be the only ones having access to the collection. You walking up to the archivist and say, look, I need this type of footage from way back when, I know I've seen it, and then it's okay, let me help you try to find it, and what was it about,
And what you do is you equalize conditions, because we had these cases where we thought about showing people video clips before and then have their memory let it find it.
Right.
But then it depends on the memory capabilities, visual memory capabilities of the individual participant.
Right.
Here you level this for all. You have the same
and I mean,
memory for all.
what we could even do is have give the person some visualizer thing or so
Yeah.
they can draw things on,
Yeah.
or on a whiteboard or on a flip chart
Yeah.
and say, oh yeah, it was sort of like this, and there was this person over there. Because we also have the differences, especially when for the textual tasks. There's on the one hand the cultural and the knowledge context.
Yeah.
So if you say a particular thing, it invokes a different image in my
Yeah.
mind than it might invoke in somebody else's. There's also different levels of how visual people are actually thinking. So how much of an image this actually invokes. And probably all of this somehow feeds into the process, and it's very hard to quantify how and to what degree. And we've so far never even attempted this, because it is, how would you even design this? But if you have another person serving as a proxy for this, it at least moves the variability from all the participants to that one person to at least some degree.
But then you're talking about less time pressure to solve this kind of task.
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, you would probably give it a bit more time, because just the dialogue part
Right.
takes a bit of time,
Yeah.
and not everybody can shout questions at the same time.
Right.
But we still see many tasks are solved way ahead of the time limit, so it might get us a more spread field and closer to the to the time limit. We could just set the maximum time higher,
Yeah.
and if we're done, we're done.
Right.
I'd probably increase the maximum time just to be sure,
Yeah.
and then see how much we
Right.
actually need.
I mean,
Right.
we've
Yeah,
talked
fair
about
enough,
this
yeah.
a few things, like ideally you would have infinite working time until the
Mhm.
last team submitted, because then you really
Yeah.
know a more precise ranking, but
Yeah.
for practical reasons we cut off somewhere,
you,
right?
you can. I mean, the point is that if there's too much time pressure, people would not. They would not be as much inclined to use this.
Yeah,
aspect of
that's
it.
true, that's true, yeah, I mean, that's what we also.
So my worry basically is this:
Yeah,
that if everybody's here,
you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the experience that I was trying to give hints during
Yes.
the competition and nobody realized it because
Right.
they were.
You are too busy with hunting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Or you could say that we don't accept answers until after a certain time. So you have a free.
That could also be
4
a good point.
minutes.
Yeah.
If you're ready by then, yes, you're one of the quickest.
Only you
right?
can accept the answers, but you're just not gonna tell people
Right.
if the
Yeah. If it's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, but then that would guide your questions, right? So
Yeah, but I mean, people are just gonna shut up once
yeah,
Once
they
you're
think
done.
they have it. Yeah.
yeah. And then,
But
I mean,
maybe-
even if the system,
Yeah.
I mean, Trace is just gonna give you a green thing or a red thing,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna tell you what it was.
Yeah.
So unless you explicitly wanted to, but in this case we wouldn't. And then you say, oh yeah, team whatever found it based on the answer to that question that you all also heard.
Yeah.
So it's the same information available to everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Somehow, I cannot kind of get rid of the thought that this is already a conversation that we have, because what happens on the spot, people are asking, and there is a piece of information being revealed, and sometimes you guys are also giving some hints,
Mhm.
Yes, but I have no control over what that information
Yeah,
is. Whereas if you came to me and wanted me to find something for you, I would ask you the
Right.
things that I would need to know
Right.
to close the gap between
Yes.
what I have and what
Yeah.
you want. Whereas if I say, okay, now I really need to know if it's a landscape or a portrait, and then the next thing you say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a tree in the background.
Right. Yeah.
So can't we make it like this? So then this is good what you say. So teams are working on, conversational, let's say, search task. And then after maybe a minute or two, we allow them, or maybe immediately, kind of once or twice during that time period, to answer some questions. And there are gonna be some questions there popping up from different teams. They can ask maybe one question each.
Mhm.
you're not happy about it?
No, go ahead.
Well, then it gets a game theory aspect,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
questions are answered all at the same time, there's a time limit, the
Right.
answer to the questions are gonna be available to
Right.
everybody, so
Yeah.
then you will, since you want to win this, you will try and ask questions that help you most while revealing as little useful information
As
to everybody
possible.
else.
Yeah.
If you can do that. So the questions are
Yeah.
going to be very narrow to the capabilities of your thing, which may or may not be a good representation of.
But you can jump in because I think like this conversation aspect. I think when we're making tasks, you know, there's kind of an implicit conversation in mind, right? What are the questions that might be asked, and in which order do I want to answer them,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So one option that is in between would be that teams are allowed to submit questions, but basically on the spot, and they're anonymized, so you don't know which team is asking which question. On the spot, you create the next step, right? Or you might have multiple different alternatives for the next step. I now decide what's going to be the next thing that I give out.
Okay,
That may or may not answer your question or your
Yeah,
question.
so I mean,
right?
so what we could do is, rather than everybody shouting
Right.
the questions we could use one of these audience participation tools where
Right.
people can submit and vote
Yeah.
on questions.
Right.
But then it again has the interaction burden that I actually need to type in my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
look at all the
Yeah.
questions that are already
And-
there.
Well,
People like
no,
to
you
vote,
would
yeah.
type in your question.
Mhm.
You don't know any other questions.
So without
Yeah.
revealing
And you
new ones,
get
we are working on
more
a paper
hints.
for SIGIR.
Mhm.
We are now working on a paper for SIGIR, so please don't use this idea. But I think many other people use the same. So there is this interesting aspect of diffing, you know, like
Mhm.
you have one set, you have another set, and okay, that's what I
Mhm.
kind of tell you. So just translating without going into that one, it's not related to this story. When you get those results, basically you would like to know how far is it from the ground truth. And
Mhm.
ground truth is sort of this mental image of what you just described. That's like information need. And Oracle, meaning you and the system, knows that Oracle beforehand because we probably answered it. So now there are these tools and they're getting increasingly good, you know, like different kind of asking, hey, what is there and not in this set or from this set, which one's what? So maybe people could, just as a help, they don't have to use it. Without asking questions, they select some examples, like and submit them there to you, and somewhere mid or few times during that process, they get automatic feedback.
So whenever it is wrong, they get information about what
hey,
is
why is it
different.
why is it
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah, this is a very
Yeah.
interesting approach.
But you could do that also with a human there. I mean, you don't have to automate it.
It's very heavy, you know, like meaning.
No, you would have to
especially if
limit
you
it.
have
I mean,
16
you don't,
teams.
you don't want someone to select
Plot this.
one best 1,000 images and tell me
Yeah.
what's different, right?
Yeah, no.
I guess you can guide that and say you can
But, I
select,
mean-
send one image per
No, you
minute
could
or
do,
so.
but no, you could even do this and say no. The submission process and the scoring process is exactly the same. But rather than just getting the feedback, your submission was correct, your submission was not correct. Every time it was not correct, you're also getting more information back, because this is also more what would happen if you were to talk
But
to the
then-
archivist and say, is it this? And they say, no, it's similar, but it's
then-
not like.
Yeah, but then.
And these are the attributes that it misses.
Yes.
Yeah, but the difficult thing is then you're giving information to one team, you don't give it the same information to everyone.
Because they submitted certain thing. Everybody has
These are two independent things. Both of them are very interesting. I would kind of want to try both. One of them is much more easy to implement than the other. Because this different thing would actually need to be built, whereas the other is really just
Is out of the box,
it needs a volunteer
Yeah.
and they need to be shown some clips. But this is a very interesting idea.
So you know what's the problem with volunteer? I can tell you that. So I didn't have it with technology students, like never ever. But now in some tracks I have social sciences students, and I think they're also wired a little bit differently. So they perceive everything as a bit of negotiation, conversation, or maybe it kind of just changed, you know. So whenever I make an exam, there's gonna be a few of them, you know, like that start. First,
Oh, you already
I
have
think
to-
you have an error in
Oh,
your
just
exam.
audit that.
And I'm like, no, I put no in a notebook, there is no error.
Is your
There.
class
So
rate?
it's very simple to check.
Aha.
Are you sure about that? Yeah, I'm totally sure. And then starts.
Then you don't
Yeah,
need
but
a new glass.
I don't get it. Why is it not this one? And
Would
you
you
know,
like
it
a
starts a
new
really deep conversation, and you wanna kind of remove any unclarity that's potentially there.
Yeah,
But then you're always
don't
afraid
think this
how
is an
much
issue
did you
that-
reveal?
Yes,
You know, like,
I-
because to that person you almost solve the question. They started like
I-
you could say I don't want to do it at all, or
I get what you're saying, but this is probably much more of a problem in reality than it would be at such a benchmark, because you can more clearly instruct the. I mean, it's not really going to be a volunteer.
Generally
as
speaking,
in-
you have smarter people too, so.
You have people more in tune with the spirit of the task.
Yeah, fair enough.
so.
That is
Are we
okay.
writing up something about it, about diffing or not?
I think this is a great thing, and we should try to have this implemented in 26.
Yes.
Because that would also require some actual technical work to be done, whereas the other thing is really some
So you know
organizational work.
what, by that time, if it's 26, we are already solving some of these things with Pongi, like diffing also negative,
Mhm.
or what if everything is relevant. So that's particular one that interests Rangelos a lot, because in most cases, when you start talking about these conversations, all things are irrelevant.
Yeah.
And you basically have to kind of somehow deal, it's none of this, it's none of
Yes.
this, it's none of this. So what do you talk to a team
I mean, it's
that submitted
also-
something that's.
I mean, it's also doing this for video is probably the thank you.
I like this
Doing
one.
this is the most difficult modality of all the standard modalities we currently deal with. Even if you have a state-of-the-art vision language model, they're not designed for video, right? They're designed for images. And of course you can say, okay, I do frame selection, but if the action is different, then or if the dynamics are different,
Why are you laughing?
then you're not being able to,
No, he has one already.
capture this. But this is definitely something that would be very interesting to build, but we would need to essentially build this into the system somehow, right? So everybody gets consistent replies. And then we probably
We
need
need
to
four more.
deploy this on a more powerful machine. Because even the state-of-the-art vision language models that only do single images as inputs are very heavy.
Yeah, no. So, but that we can actually, maybe we can also.
Yes.
I suggest
We can
maybe we
we
can
can
collaborate.
do this in 26. Yes.
No, but I mean to do some more scientific papers
Mhm.
next year.
Mhm.
Test it.
Mhm.
I have a PhD working on it now.
Mhm.
Building a simulator.
I would absolutely be up for that and try to implement this as a type of task for DBS 26.
Yeah.
I would still hope to try the person in the new thing.
26, that's in Prague.
Yes.
I'm TPC chair, so I'll be
Oh,
there as
okay.
well. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but basically helping Ponza. Helping Ponza. I kind of wasn't next to MM, you know, like everyone else did MMM already. So
Mhm.
he really asked me. He's my former PhD student.
Okay.
Ponza's a helper.
Mhm.
So helping him and Ponza.
Okay.
So next year somehow we can try this
Yes,
with
yes, we should absolutely.
with Pongi we are already building this thing. I don't guarantee how it's going to handle.
For text, for
Okay,
video,
then I
for
think we
what?
have everyone.
For
Yes.
image and video. We have some
Okay.
video data sets and there's some.
Okay.
We have everyone.
Oh. Okay.
Enough, yeah, 11.
Yeah.
Minik, primarily we wanna.
11, yeah.
The
Yeah.
colleague with whom I
Mhm.
supervise him does a lot of text, so for me it's also interesting not without him.
Should I move the car now?
Usually it's with-
No, but this
You're gonna do it,
is
then you
definitely
should do it now.
something interesting.
When people are eating.
I need to find.
But that requires.
Yes,
So the one in there, so you need to.
Build the machine, get what
2
happens.
weeks.
But you unplug first on the outside or?
Pongi claims that
Mhm.
one of these that recently came out is pretty good starting point for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, building this from scratch is anyway not feasible.
so.
Unless we have much more
You
data
shall
and
unplug
compute
and then-
available than.
Can you unplug?
Wait,
Then
and then, alright, unplug.
You can
Let's do it the other way, you give me this, I move it inside.
Hey, your sustainable car is potential pain in the back.
Yes.
But, well, do you think it's feasible to do this in 25 with just